Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm sitting down because we had a win, but it didn't feel like a win because we saw a lot of what we know we can't do take place. Um, and I'm trying to adjust my thinking because you know I have a new notion that it may not be the coaching staff's decision, or it may not be their idea for us to be running small ball the way that we are. Gilbert Arenas mentioned that LeBron James, in a series back in the day, kind of removed the center. It was his decision to remove the center. It was the first time he had seen that, and they were running small ball back then to try to put as many weapons on the floor for him as possible. And while AD is gone, since we have but one center who hasn't been as effective, well, two centers that haven't been effective, I think the philosophy that Braun is going with is I'll just run the center now, put as many weapons on the floor with me. We'll punt the rebounding, punt the rebounding category, and we'll forego it for better offensive movement or better offensive play because the players that we have on the floor are offensive players. So I think that's the philosophy he's going with. It's like you gotta let go of something. You're gonna suck one way or another. This gives us the best opportunity to have more points than the other teams that we run into since we're so deficient defensively. So I think that's the philosophy. The problem is you can only do that in certain situations. You can't get away with that every night. And we're seeing who we can get away with it against: the Houston Rockets, the Minnesota Timberwolves when Carl ain't out there. Um, but you can't do it against Memphis. You can't do it against Brooklyn. You see what I'm saying? It's like there's certain teams you can do it against and certain teams you can't, and you got to be able to audible out of it. Tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers were able to win the game because they were going up against a Minnesota Timberwolves team that turned the ball over more than we do, a lot more than we do. And, you know, but the thing about it is the Lakers played losing basketball for what it is that you would expect them to play. Now, they shot the free throw pretty decently. You live with that. And they had better defensive sequences than you're used to seeing. A lot of swiped balls, things of that nature fell in our favor. Very happy to see that. Problem was, as I said, it seems to me we're punting the rebounding category entirely. And what I saw out there was us getting out rebounded 58 to like 20 something. It was overwhelming in terms of how bad that rebounding edge was on both the offensive glass and the defensive glass. They got us 20-4 on the offensive glass. So that was one issue. Another issue is we barely scored anything in the paint. We've been a good interior scoring team for the last several weeks, consistently getting inside, but tonight that was not the case. And somehow we still managed to win the game. I think one of the reasons why we were able to win the game was the fact that as a team we only had 15 turnovers. And for me, the magic number is 14. But I think the fact of the matter is 10 of those turnovers or 11 of those turnovers was in the first half, which means we cut that down significantly in the second half. What I saw was the Lakers having more quality possessions, particularly at the start of the fourth quarter. I just saw a lot of cohesive play. The issue with the Lakers was, to be completely honest with you, once again, Russell Westbrook and his turnover situation. He had, if I'm not mistaken, 7 turnovers by himself in the first half. As a team, we had 10. That means, as a team, we had 15 turnovers. He had the majority of them. And it gets to a point where you're like, when he sits down, and you saw sequences like this tonight, he sits down, the Lakers play so much better. You see teammates passing the rock around, the ball pops around, things are going well, fast breaks are run smoothly. He gets on the floor, suddenly we have unforced turnovers, forced turnovers, missed plays. It just becomes a situation where he's working against us every time. And anytime he gets the ball, he's either going to score or turn the ball over. It's one or the other. And every once in a while he'll make a good play for Braun or make a nice play for somebody else. But the majority of the time, it's just him kicking the ball off his feet or doing some errant pass that he shouldn't do. And the thing about it is, like, for me, I didn't play the game, right? I'm not a basketball player. But when you play video games, it's like you get to a point where you at least know where everybody's supposed to be. You know when a guy's supposed to make a corner pass or when the pass isn't. You know what I mean? You can get the basics on stuff like that. And he just seems to make the wrong play a lot of the time. His fast break tonight was horrible. Some of the passes that he was making just horrible. The decisions that he was making were more difficult than they had to be. It's like, no, if you just go there as opposed to what you tried to do, you would have been fine. It was a lot of that kind of stuff going on with him. So, you could tell by my face how irritated I am. I'm over it. I think all of Laker Nation is over it. You take the good with the bad with Russell. He scored a lot tonight. We're very happy to have him over 20 points tonight. But all in all, you just find yourself frustrated, It's like other players have to make up for his mistakes on a constant. Avery Bradley made up for a turnover he had on the end. Austin Reeves was making up for some of his awful IQ plays. It's just, Bron has to cover up for a lot of his mistakes. It just gets to a point where you're like, we're a better team when we sit them down. We just are. And when we need a scoring punch and we need somebody to drive into the paint and be a scoring punch for us, we can get him off the bench, play him some good minutes off the bench. But after that, just sit him down and play all the smart players. I hate to be that guy, but it just is what it is. We need high basketball players out there. We need quality possessions, and we have those guys on our roster. I feel like that's the issue. THT and Russell Westbrook are players that we have to work around, because they're going to do things that are going to go away from what it is that the rest of the team is doing. Like everybody else is on the string, but then you have these two ugly ducklings just running around doing stuff that hurts us. And it's like, that's what I saw out there. And we can play games about it. We can mince words if we like, but the Lakers were able to win tonight because they were playing against a team that didn't have their stars. Anthony Edwards went tonight, but he didn't have that type of a game like I predicted he may. But you did see Avery Bradley acting up out there. You saw Naz Reid have a monster game. Novell, I think his name is Noel, Jalen Noel, a player that we had on our team at one point who really didn't make too many mistakes at all as a Laker, but for whatever reason we cut him as if he was, and then he went on to Minnesota and continues to make us look foolish every time we're on the schedule. He goes off, so that's not a surprise to me, and he's continuing to make a name for himself. Jared Vanderbilt was able to go tonight, and see, that's the thing you got to understand. They got players who rebound the ball. Vanderbilt, that's really all he does. I mean, he's known for rebounding the ball. He's trying to turn himself into like a Dennis Rodman type of guy. Like, that's who he's trying to develop into. So you got to understand, like, you can't punt the center position against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Naz Reid and Vanderbilt will do that to you every night. If we were in a playoff series against this team, they would kill us on the boards just like this, just about every night, so long as we did that. And the sad thing is, they didn't even have Carl. We can't go. So if Carl was out there, he would have went for 40 tonight. So it's very obvious to me that the Lakers are still far away from being a good team. I do think that at some point in time, we're going to have to come to terms with certain things as an organization, as it pertains to our philosophy and approach to basketball games this season. If we don't get ourselves some size and take size seriously, we are going to miss the playoffs. And I understand we're doing good, and I know that we're, in terms of being in the standings for a playoff position, we are in a space right now that can get us the playoffs if we started today. But you can't beat anybody this way. You can't beat anyone this way. And the sad thing is, we're starting to see how talented we are at a guard spot. When you look around, Malik Monk, Austin Reeves, Avery Bradley's playing well right now. You know what I mean? We still got Kendrick Nunn coming back. We got some guards that we like that can do some good things for us. But it's hard for them to be their best when they don't have big men down there to help them with things that they can't do. And, you're just asking LeBron James and those fellas to do too much. Carmelo Anthony was excellent down the stretch of the game tonight. He hit a big 4-point play, was rebounding the ball, just doing stuff that you want to see from Carmelo Anthony as usual, being big, playing big. You know what I mean? Like I said, Avery Bradley was somebody that must be mentioned significantly today because he really played well, both sides of the floor. making up for people's mistakes. Stanley Johnson was excellent defensively, active hands tonight as usual. Still doesn't quite shoot the ball like you want him to, but he's not hesitant to take those shots, which is all I care about. My thing is, if you get those rhythm shots and you don't make them, so what? What we don't want is players like him to jack up too many threes, which he doesn't do. He doesn't get happy trying to be an offensive player or nothing. He takes the shots he's supposed to take. He drives at the basket when it's time to, and he leaves the rest to others. And it doesn't show up in the box score how good of a player he's been for us. But let me tell you, he's literally saving our season. Like, if anybody wants to know, Stanley Johnson is why the Lakers have pretty much been better defensively and have gotten stops in situations where they otherwise wouldn't. And then you want to double back and mention how good Austin Reeves looked defensively tonight as well. He's starting to get his strength about him. You know, as I said earlier in the season, he always made good defensive reads. He always had his hand up in the right position. It was just his strength wasn't there, so guys would finish through him. They bump off of him and stuff like that. Well, the season's starting to progress. He's in the gym, and it's showing. He's starting to get those stops. They're starting to come. So I'm telling you, man, it's getting to a point for me where I think we would be probably best to start featuring those two players, Malik Monk and Austin Reeves, more. I don't know how you slip them both into the starting lineup because I think they both must play the shooting guard spot. But they are literally two of the most reliable players that we have right now, not named LeBron James. And I think those two give us the best opportunity to have consistency and stability on the floor while Bron is out there. So for me, those are the guys I trust on this team most right now. I mean, it can be completely honest with you. Those are the guys that I say, okay, if it comes down to it, I want them on the floor for whatever situation is important. So I think it's very important for us to consider that. Of course, Stanley's in that conversation for me defensively. But that's my go-to lineup, man. I understand we have guys on contract and things of that nature. But if they can't show up the way we need them to, I got guys on this team I have no problem playing ahead of them. And that's the reality of the situation. So I think the Lakers have the right people on roster. I just think they paid the wrong ones. THT's money should be Austin Reeves' money, and Malik money should be, Kendrick Nunn's or something like that. I think that's how it should go, because we know those players are players that we trust. We know that they have attributes that can fit any roster that we put together over the next several years, and I think the Lakers would be very wise to call them untouchable at this point. So that's what I think. Yeah. What else? It was a lot to say. LeBron James continues to hold us down, playing center, but he doesn't rebound well enough for that, man. He doesn't. He's a good rebounder from his position, but once he starts going up against real centers like Naz Reid, Vanderbilt, guys who actually rebound for a living, you can see the difference between, what a real rebounder is and a guy who just gets his boards and goes. You know what I mean? Bron's not a rebounder. He didn't grow up banging with centers and power forwards and boxing out and all that stuff. That's not his game. So, if this is what he wants, we're getting victories against people we probably would beat anyway if we didn't do this. I think that's the reality of it. I understand we're trying to give ourselves the best opportunity to have good offensive, plays and stuff, and we're having issues with that, with those centers that we have down there. But I just think it would be wise for the Lakers to try playing Jay Huff, man. I've really been thinking a lot about this. I'm like, Laker fans are going to be first of all, I don't know where this kid is in his production. He's an undrafted guy, so for all I know, he can't play. And if that's the case, they're wise for not playing him. But I think Laker fans are going to be very mad when they find out they have a 7-foot center who specializes in shooting threes. He's 7'1", and he shoots threes. Like, when we think about all the problems that we've had with our size and the fact that we don't want to play centers because they get in the paint and clog the paint and all this nonsense about AD playing the 5, Bron playing the 5, y'all gonna find out we literally have a 7'1" center, and all he do is shoot his wet threes, man. So, and he has long arms for his height. He has long arms, so you can clearly see this is somebody who should be on the floor. Like I said, if he can't play, he can't play. I don't know because we haven't seen him. But when you think of the prototype, it's a no-brainer that you have to put him out there. And I just think we're missing an opportunity to do that, given the fact that we literally have no center. Play Jay Huff. If he can't go, then we sit him back down. But we're giving THT all these minutes and giving minutes to players that are struggling. And we're getting out rebound by a million. I mean, come on. You put that 7-footer on the floor at his natural position, move Bron back to the 4, and you can still do some of the same sequences. Give it a shot. I don't think you have nothing to lose. It's not like we're out here running meaningful basketball right now. Play Jay Huff. So that's something I want to say. People are going to be mad as hell when they find out this boy's on this roster. Trust you, me. They're going to be mad. So that's another thing. What else? Trevor Ariza, he's slow. And I'm not talking about speed. I'm talking about to the plays and stuff. He's not moving fast. He's not really helping us yet. I guess he'll get it. But to me, he looks like a guy who's kind of like just got off the couch. He's kind of been doing other stuff. Kind of been in retirement. It's like, oh, I got to get back out here. Oh, man. He's just not there. He doesn't have it yet. So I'd imagine over the next several weeks he'll get it. And he'll be faster and quicker to the ball and things of that nature. But for now, he just looked like a shell of himself to me. So we'll see how that progresses going forward. Didn't play Darren Collison. Why not? I think he's a little too talented for us to just not play. But I do like the guards that we have out there, so I'm not complaining too much. But again, I look at THT and now he's struggling. Look at Westbrook and how he's struggling. I'm just like, okay, man. Okay, we can kind of mess around with our roster a little bit, see what we got down there. And this is the time to do it. When you're going up against a Minnesota team at home that doesn't have all their stars, these are the times when you say, oh, let me try Jay Huff. Yeah, let me try this other guy. Let me see if Jamario Jones has something. These are the games you do that. And you rest Bron and you rest Westbrook. And you probably still have the same results because these teams turned the ball over like 23 times against us. They weren't beating anybody tonight. Like literally anyone. So, I don't know. I just think the coaching staff just misses opportunities. I know Frank Vogel's been out for a while, so he's rusty, and trying to reestablish himself as coach because Fitz was in there and all that. But I just felt like we were calling timeouts unnecessarily down the stretch. A lot of the stuff we were doing, just played well to that small ball philosophy, which doesn't work. And we were lucky to walk out of there as the victors because we didn't do anything that we should have did to ultimately help us win. We kind of took some steps back shooting the ball from 3 in the 30% range as opposed to being in the high 40s, what we've been over the last several games. So, that's what the numbers tell us. What else? It's high 70s from the free throw line, which I think has been okay. I think we've been okay as a team from the line over the last several games. Hasn't been mentioned much, but we're doing okay there. 40-something% from field. So like I said, the Lakers want to get on the interior much more than they did tonight. That is not how we play ball. You should be getting much more dunks and layups than we did. So on and so forth. So yeah, man. Bottom line is, if we were playing against anybody worth playing, we would have got our hats brought to us. But with the Minnesota Timberwolves turning the ball over 23 times, that helped us, given the fact that we only turned the ball over 15 times. So as a team, you take your hat off. You say if you remove Russell Westbrook and his turnovers, we did a great job taking care of the basketball. That's what happened. That's it. Because there was no other category where we actually won this game. And the sad thing is, the story is going to be turnovers because he turned the ball over by himself 7 times in the first half. So, what do you like? How did the Lakers win? They didn't turn the ball over. What was the story? Russell Westbrook's turnovers. There you go. That's what it was. So, priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Get Russell Westbrook's contracts off of our books sooner than later. Do it now, do it later, but get it done. That's what I'm saying. If you can't get it done this season, you get it done at the end of this season. But the only move we should truly be trying to make with the utmost of priority is that one. Get him out of here. It's not working. It isn't going to work. Even if it were to work, it's too expensive to even try. So get it out of here. And look, I can't stress this enough, you guys. For me, I would accept just about any deal it takes to get him out of here because I value the removal of his contract more so than I value anything that we'd be taking back. The most important thing for me is for us not to be in that hole that his contract provides. Financial hole, but more so the cap hole is what I'm thinking. I'm sure Genie could pay the bill. It's not about the money. It's about what it leaves us in terms of cap space and what Rob's able to work with. And I'm just wondering how much Rob and Frank Vogel's and those guys' hands are tied behind their back as it pertains to LeBron James's wishes. That's the question. Is Frank Vogel being unnecessarily judged for this small ball crap that we're running? Because if this is Bron's call, and I'm up here screaming at Frank Vogel about small ball lineups, then that's something I would like to know, honestly. As a fan, that's something I would like to know. Because here's the thing, man. I look at Frank Vogel, I say he's a defensive coach. Ain't no defensive coach going to have a philosophy of going small ball, getting out rebounded. This is a guy who got, what's my man's name, man? He played for the Lakers too, the center, before he was with the Pacers. But he wasn't very good for us, man. But he was able to get that guy to two All-Star games, 2 consecutive All-Star games. Roy Hibbert. Like, you trying to tell me that now, all of a sudden, the coach who coached Roy Hibbert into being an All-Star for 2 years in a row, doesn't want to play a center, wants to run small ball, appreciates being out-rebounded by double digits? No, my logic tells me no, he doesn't. My logic tells me he hates this as much as I do. That's what common sense tells me. So I'm starting to question whether or not this is his philosophy that I'm watching. And so I'm turning my attention to LeBron James, just like I always do as it pertains to this team. I look at our GM and I say, well, how far are his hands tied behind his back? Because it seems LeBron doesn't want him to be able to get some of the players in here that maybe he would help himself with. If it were up to him, he'd probably have Buddy Hield and DeMar DeRozan, as opposed to what we have right here. So I look at my phone and I know I got about 3 minutes left because I got to create some space here. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. And I want to blame somebody for the small ball stuff, but I have a feeling I'm blaming the wrong person. Bron, your philosophy, I believe this is yours. And if that is the case, we have to change it, bro. You can't keep this up, man. And most importantly, you're asking your franchise to trust that you're going to stay healthy doing this. And I don't think that's a good strategy for the team. No, sir. I don't think it's a good strategy for you, and I don't think it's a good strategy for the team. We're getting away with it right now against bad teams by a slim margin. Very slim. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. Luckily to get a win, but it didn't feel like no win. Not as a Laker fan, I can assure you, most of us don't feel like we won this game tonight. But we did. So we'll move on. We got the Kings coming up next. That's Richaun Holmes. Don't small ball Richaun Holmes. That's Chizu Metu. I don't know how to say his name, but Metu, the guy starting to break out for the Sacramento Kings. And Harrison Barnes and those guys, I wouldn't. Marvin Bagley's playing better now. He's back out there. I wouldn't. I can do the small ball stuff, but for so long, man. You'll find out. BDF 44, thank you all for watching. I'm out.